Hi guys, Clara here, and if you didn't already know, today is Mario Day. And to celebrate, this video is in collaboration with several other amazing YouTubers that made their own Mario creations. I will leave links to all their videos in the description box below, so be sure to check out some awesome creators. In this video, I'll be making a scene from TinyHuge Island, one of the 15 worlds in the game of Super Mario 64. I had a hard time deciding between TinyHuge Island, Shifting Sandland, and a Cool Mountain. Maybe I'll have to make all of them. If you want to see other Mario worlds, like this video so I know to make more. To start, I'm rolling out a big ball of brown clay. To keep it level, I taped 2 sets of 3 popsicles together to act as a guide. For the grass, I'm rolling it out 2 popsicle sticks thick. Then I can combine the dirt and grass together and do the same for this giant stack of popsicles. Gotta make sure it's even, right? And before I cut it into shape, I'm chucking it in the freezer for 10 minutes since warm clay tends to lead to smushed edges when cut into. This is just a test cut to make sure it's cold enough, and I think it's safe to say that there will be no rounded edges here. Time to actually cut the shape out, which turned out a little smaller than I intended to, because I did my test cut in the dumbest spot possible. But that's okay, we can make this work. I'm adding a bit of texture along the sides to blend the grass into the dirt more, since right now all I see is Minecraft. Once the sides are smoothed out again, I'm poking holes with a needle where I want the plants in the tube to go later. Though I don't think this was even necessary. Anyway, let's throw this in the oven and get started on Mario's tube. After cutting a rectangle out of light green clay, I wrap it around a cylinder of tinfoil I rolled up and taped off camera. I ended up adding some parchment paper between the clay and the cylinder so that the tube could easily be removed later on. After a little blending, I pre-baked this for 5 minutes just so the shape wouldn't be ruined when I added the outer edge. Which is what happened the first time I tried to attempt this. Some liquid Sculpey and then the top edge is attached and carefully blended out. Another quick trip to the oven and I'm going to ever so carefully remove the tube from its tinfoil mold. Can you believe I was going to make this a solid piece of clay at first? Sometimes I'm glad I always pick the harder way to do things. Our platform, if you will, is now out of the oven and completely cooled, so let's add our tube in place. I wanted the tube to look deeper, so I placed a circle of black clay down, so all you'd see looking in is darkness. And with the tube in place, it's time to add some good old-fashioned enemies to this scene. TinyHuge Island has a few enemies, but none meaner than the piranha flower. To begin, I grabbed my red clay from the freezer and started adding the spots. The cold clay means I can worry less about denting the ball every time I add another spot. And there were a lot of spots. Way more than the sad amount of spots I originally thought I would need. I didn't want to waste time placing spots where the mouth goes, so I traced out a general outline to follow. And right here, I'm just taking a moment to roll the ball around and admire the pretty colors before I realize I still have to make a whole nother one. But lucky you, because we're going to skip right over that part. Now it's a question of whether I cut the mouth before or after pre-baking the clay. I chose before since I've had experience cutting baked clay and it always ended in crumbles. I did freeze the clay before cutting, but I don't think I kept it in there long enough because there was a lot of smushed clay and edges. But I managed to shape it back enough that I was content with it. Then it just needed a poke with a needle where the wire would be placed later. I honestly don't know why I didn't add the wire now, because this would have been the perfect time to add one. Now with that piranha head in the oven, I'm going to cut out some sharp teeth from a thin sheet of white clay. I have 2 piranha heads, so I'm making 4 rows of teeth, and these will be pre-baked for 5 minutes before adding to the head. With the teeth and both the heads baked and cooled, I'm rolling out dark green clay for the lips. Apply liquid Sculpey to baked clay whenever you add unbaked clay. In this case, whenever you add big green lips. Now the teeth. Yes, I am adding them individually after I bake them as a row, but I was hoping it would be flexible enough to bend around the shape of the mouth. After several breaks and crumbles, that dream was gone. But at least my piranha flowers look extra threatening with their sharp, snaggly teeth. Silver linings, right? With my piranhas looking nice and toothy, the next thing they need are sharp, prickly leaves. Just cutting out triangles on either side for pointy edges and adding a stem and vines with a slightly lighter green. And as with basically everything I'm making in this video, these will be pre-baked for 10 minutes before adding. Though before adding the leaves to the flower, we should probably complete the flower. I'm adding a wire with super glue before applying liquid Sculpey and then covering with green clay. Trim off the excess and more super glue and liquid Sculpey before we stick it in the ground. Once the base is blended, then a leaf can be added on either side and propped up with tinfoil if needed. Same for the other flower, and this whole scene is ready for its final bake in the oven for 20-ish minutes. While that's baking, let's get this fence out of the way. A fence is pretty straightforward, but that doesn't mean it's easy. I ended up making this fence height too short, so I made another set of posts while still using the original long connecting posts since they weren't the issue. Now to carefully line up the posts with the help from my blade, and then adding a dot of super glue on every other post. That way when I add posts to the other side, they will hopefully be evenly spaced. Okay. Tube done, piranhas done, fence done. Now it's time for the man of the hour, Mario. He may not have that complicated of a design, but I didn't want to rush into this blind, so for the most part, I referenced a tutorial by Artsy Rush on how to make Mario. And yes, I know this is already a tutorial video, so why am I following a different tutorial? But in my defense, my Mario is mini, therefore entirely different. But seriously, I have the Mario tutorial video linked in the description box in case anyone is interested. Now, I did make my Mario a little differently. When you're dealing with tiny sculptures, the slightest wrong move could mean these boots turn into flats. To avoid this, I'm going to pre-bake the shoes and the gloves. I'm also adding a wire to hopefully make the connection to the body stronger. Little blue strips are added to the overalls, then the arms are attached and trimmed. We did the feet, so now it's on to the hands. I really took my time shaping these, and I even surprised myself with how much these actually look like hands. I learned from when I made the shoes that I should add the wire before baking, which made attaching the arms that much easier. Then it's just some yellow buttons to finish off his outfit and some acetone to clean off the clay surface. I post him off camera, otherwise I'd have to include a 30-minute time-lapse of me moving each arm and leg a millimeter at a time. So you're welcome. A little piece of wire goes into the neck and he's off to the oven for 20 minutes. Finally, we can work on his head, which I start by indenting where the eyes and nose will go. Fill up the eyes with white clay and then add blue and black for the eye color and pupil. Onto the facial hair and cutting out his mustache. I was a bit too generous when I was shaping his mustache, so please don't laugh, at least not too much, because Mustachio Mario will be getting a trim right after he gets his eyebrows done. There, the new mustache is still big and bushy, but not unreasonably so. Time for the ears and then a thin line for the mouth. I want to save my progress, so after poking a hole in the neck, let's pre-bake him. Now Mario is ready for a head full of hair, or I guess a head half full of hair. I know the real Mario has a full head of hair, but my Mario is not so lucky. Thank goodness for hats, right? For his hat, I'm shaping out a ball-pointed tool that's conveniently the same size as his head, then adding a white dot before writing the M in red clay. Last step is to attach a half circle to the front and blend the edges in. Let's give Mario his hat and pat down into place. Finally, Mario is ready for the oven, and once baked and cooled, his head can be acquainted with his body. And if you don't glue it down, you can turn his head side to side. Now that everything is baked, I can remove the tinfoil supports, add the fence, and place Mario in his natural habitat. And with that, this Super Mario 64 TinyHuge Island scene is done. I'm so happy to have been a part of this Mario Day collaboration, so don't forget to check out all the other Mario videos in the description box below. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye!